What's up, everybody? Good to be back. Boy, we got a doozy today. We got to talk about some meta stuff. It's been a minute since we have actually discussed some stuff like that. Huge news that just dropped. We officially have a Twitch category. So obviously, I'm going to try to take advantage of that, and I will be obviously I'm probably gonna like dual stream, but at the same time, I'm probably gonna do like a separate day, maybe like just gameplay over on Twitch. Try to get something going over there. I think it's very important for content creators to get into that category and kind of. It's one of the easiest ways to get people outside of the game to see the game, and I really want to kind of just kind of double down and kind of like try to help the game out, right? That's ultimately, what we're trying to do. And I think it's a low hanging fruit way to do so, right? So, yeah, obviously the multi-stream was was Vero's idea, of course. Nice. We hadn't even started the stream and we got balls in the chat already. Sweet. You could stream this on Twitch. Yep, absolutely. Bravo. We're doing great today. Late as usual. Yeah, I think I was about 60 seconds late. But you know. Good things are worth waiting for, right? Ed Knight joins the team and Nathan plays Bravo. Coincidence? Definitely not. Bounced a lot of questions off of Ed. He's helped me with a lot of decisions and kind of getting reps in, especially the mirror, obviously. It's a great resource. For those who have not heard the news, Ed Knight is officially a card guy. He is on the team. Super excited about that. Can't wait for what he can get done wearing that jersey. I got a lot of faith in him. So what are we doing today? Well, I'm just going to recap my ProQuest season for anybody that is curious, and we're going to do I'll give you a little sneak peek at what we're going to be doing. We're going to be filling out this chart. Anybody that keeps up with the streams of the channel kind of knows that I basically do a chart like this for every major tournament. We're talking Pro Tours and Worlds. Effectively, what we will do is we will go basically like matchup by matchup and say how favored it is for whoever. And it'll give us an adjusted score at the end. And we'll get into all that when the time comes. But until then, we will just... I'm just going to do a little ProQuest recap season, if you will. And then, we'll hop right into that. Just give people time to get into the stream. And then we will hit that meta breakdown and kind of talk about some stuff. Obviously, with the results from the Melbourne calling, we kind of, have a lot of stuff to talk about. Overall, I think that the stream last week was received pretty well. I think it was productive, got people to think about things, maybe a different way or more kind of like more inducive of kind of hearing both sides of the argument. So I was glad I ended up doing that and it was able to contribute to the community. Absolutely, chart guys. Who else is going to do it? Vero is unhinged. I agree. Nathan's going to be playing Max before long, not for Worlds, but I don't think I think he's good, but not this tournament. A little too early for Max. DM Armada, what's up? Thanks for joining. I appreciate it. Yes, if you haven't heard, DM, there is a Fab category now on Twitch. Hopefully us content creators can hop over there a little bit and kind of give the game some exposure. I think that would be huge for the game. The Dromai matchup scores are going to be funny. Can't wait to see how much Dromai is favored into everything but Fi. Yeah, I mean, but that's the point of the matchup chart, right? Is kind of like what percentage of the meta you think each deck will be represented, and then kind of like take your matchup percentages and you give like, a mathematical percentage to the deck, and you can extract a value from from that kind of numerically. Is it perfect? Of course not. Of course not. But it gives you a good idea of like where your matchups are and like what you're sacrificing and things along those lines. So that's the goal. So that is the goal. So ProQuest, obviously I spent the first weekend in Dallas. I participated in that tournament. So I only was able to attend 4 ProQuest, basically in the Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee region. The first one that I went to, I got into top 8, lost the first round, unfortunately. The second one, I got to the top 4 and was knocked out by a fellow teammate, Ed Knight. And then I went to another one and won that one. And then I went to my last one and got second. So overall, we had 100% conversion in the top 8, which obviously is amazing. Very fortunate for that. And we were able to take one down and secure the invite for Los Angeles. So excited about that, and I hope I get to see everybody there, assuming I don't have anything, pressing going on at the time. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. So that's kind of what happened. I played Dromai at every single event. Nothing spicy, just a regular Dromai list, not like Super Empress, not Big Dragon, just kind of like right in between, just playing a value game. I enjoyed it. Dromai is not at the top of my list for Worlds. So I do enjoy the deck, but at the same time, I think at Worlds, everybody's going to kind of have a good plan into it. And I don't want to be kind of guessing everybody's plan on the fly and kind of adapting. I think that's a very tall order for somebody that doesn't have like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of reps into a deck like that. So, it is what it is. Prism matchups are the ones I'm interested in seeing. The deck is polarizing. Yep. Well, funny enough, Prism... I'll explain this later. One thing that I realized from the last time I did it was I had an others category. So I'm going to show the graph again real quick. First thing you'll notice is Prism's not even on the chart. She didn't make it that far. So not every hero will be on the chart. Before, what I did was I did like an other category and then kind of like lumped a bunch of heroes into said category and then kind of like said, okay, how does this do into like the rogue category? The reason I don't want to do that in this tournament specifically is it's Worlds. I'm not, will somebody play Teklavausen? Like, I really doubt it. If somebody really cooks something up, then like congratulations, but I'm not going to make an analysis for one person. For somebody to bring that deck, they have to basically bring something that nobody's ever been close to seeing before. And if that's the case, what is the actual value in analyzing that hero, right? So a lot of the heroes, we're not going to talk about every single one. We might have a couple honorable mentions like Leviathan and stuff like that, but everything will not be mentioned as you can see in the chart. So just keep that in mind. I'm sorry if anybody's favorite hero gets missed, but this is exclusively for the World's meta. I'm not entirely sure that it's going to apply to anything further or anything like that, but it is what that. So that's the plan. I think we got enough people. Love how Nathan's streams are always more prepared than some online professor's lecture. Oh, I appreciate it. Viscerai is taking it down. I would love to see it. Nobody would enjoy that more, but no. Not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. So and also a little call to action for anybody. I am kind of at this current point in time, I'm kind of like underprepared for the World's tournament, you know? And on like an overall basis, I think I'm slightly underprepared. With that being said, I don't want to spend any time prepping for the Battle Hardened, the Living Legend, if I do end up playing it. So if anybody has a solid Living Legend list that they would not mind sharing, please DM me in Discord, and yeah, I would hugely appreciate it. Hugely appreciate it. One rule is it can't be illusionist. I'm not playing illusionist in Living Legend format. I'm not doing it. But other than that, if it's like a solid list that you've spent a little bit of time on, you know, I am all ears, and I would greatly appreciate it. But I'm not in a spot where I can spend a lot of time to prep for it. But I would like to play in it if I have the time, right? I don't think Briar is good in LL. That's the unfortunate part. I would love to play Briar. But can't wait for the Copium to come in. Oh, man. Well, I've already shit-talked Tekla-Vossen, so, I mean, you know, Peter, you're right on cue. I might just play Lexi, to be honest with you. But if anybody has anything, I would greatly appreciate it. I don't think, like, tech for a Battle Hardened is, like, super secret or anything, you know, because a lot of people that are probably just not super preparing for it unless they really want that Prism statue, maybe. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get it started, I guess. Let's go ahead and get it going. Skeleton Vis is risky because of the simple fact of hypothermia. You got Warmongers. You kind of can't combo off. I do think Stubby's Fi is kind of decent, but probably not the answer. I think it's Lexi or Starvo, to be honest with you. I think those are the two best decks. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So I'm gonna go over the chart before we start punching in numbers to kind of give everybody an idea of what this chart is actually trying to accomplish. Okay. So basically what we're doing, obviously, this is what we predict the percentage of the meta share will be for the indicated hero. Okay. And then what we're going to do, so obviously, and how we're going to read this chart is it's this deck into whatever deck is up here. Okay. So if we say Katsu is a 40% into Azalea, we would put 40 here, or 4, and then we would go to Azalea and go Katsu 60 here. Okay? That's how it would look, right? And the results should mirror, right, over this. Everything should mirror over this on opposite sides of the mirror. Now, obviously, this does take in one thing that you have to absolutely consider that I cannot put into I can't put, like, let's say you run a Dromai version that is really good into the mirror. I can't really calculate that, right? I just have to assume like equal decks for mirror match specifically. Okay. So everything's not going to be red once we actually put in numbers. Basically, anything around 5 will be white, and then anything under 4.5 will be "quote unquote" an unfavorable matchup, and then everything above 55% will be will be green, which indicates a good matchup. Obviously, now what we're going to kind of ignore is the raw score. The raw score is just simply going to add up all the numbers in that hero's category and give them like a number. And the point of that number is to kind of just... The point of that number is to give like how overall powerful that hero is, not necessarily how well it will do into quote unquote meta, right? The adjusted score is what we're really looking for. What we're looking for is this last number, okay? And what it's going to do is it's going to take this. So if Azalea is 60% into Katsu, it's going to take 6 and then multiply it into the meta share of Katsu and give a value. And it's going to do that a multitude of times to come up with an adjusted score. And that adjusted score will be taken on a threshold, and it'll give us, quote unquote, what should be relatively the best deck based on the matchup spread. So that kind of explains how we're going to do the chart. Now, I've already pre-filled in kind of what I'm thinking the meta share will be. Chat, let me know if you agree with these numbers. I'm more than willing to talk about them, but the numbers are very, very important. I would make the argument that these are actually the most important numbers more so than these, because they are what carries all the weight. So if anybody kind of, I'll walk over my thought process, throw it in chat if you agree, disagree, or whatever. So I think Dromai Azalea will be the most represented decks. I think that the attraction of getting Bullseye Bracers back for Azalea is a hard one to overcome for a lot of players, especially ones that want to go aggro and not be bad actively into Icelander. And, you know, I think it's a good pick. I think there's good solutions for decks like Bravo, and you're very good into just rogue aggro like Dash.io and stuff like that, while being good into Icelander. The only matchup that you really got to worry about is Bravo and Dromai, and I don't think Dromai is actually that bad anymore. I think Bravo is like really your only, the only one that you're like truly worried about. So I think Azalea is a good pick. I think a lot of people are going to see that. I think a lot of people are going to bring that. Okay. Dromai kind of has the image of being the best deck. That's why I have it tied at first with Azalea. I know, right? Imagine saying Azalea will be the most represented deck at Worlds a year ago. Amen to that. It's actually insane. Obviously, Azalea will kind of not work for a lot of players simply based on the variance. So, you know, a lot of people are not going to be willing to take on that variance, and that's understandable. That's why I don't think it could actually be the most represented deck, only tied. And other than that, there's such a good reason to bring a lot of these heroes. And the power levels are very close that I think it, like after the first couple spots, I think it's going to be like relatively even. I could agree with that, Vero. I could put Dromai at 18 and Azalea at 12. I like that. I could agree with that. Also, for this, are we assuming decks teched for this meta, right? Yes. Correct. So, like, for example, Bravo's not going to be running like a Lexi package or anything like that. They're going to have tech for Dromai. We are making those assumptions. We are. Okay. So let's go ahead and get to it. We'll just start right at the top. And kind of I'm going to give my reasoning unless anybody I mean, why wouldn't you? I said it. Yeah. Definitely not why I agreed, but sure, we'll roll with it. If anybody else has any recommendations for the predicted meta share, I'm more than willing to hear it. I think it's going to be fairly open, with the exception of Dromai being the most represented. I think it's going to be very, very open. So we'll go ahead and get started. Dromai versus Azalea is our first matchup. No Dory, unfortunately. I don't think Dory makes it into. I don't think there'll be any more than 3 Dorinthias there. One of them being Josh, obviously, probably. And there's no, like I said, there's no point in analyzing 3 people's deck at a 350 person tournament, right? That's like 1% of the field. There's no point in analyzing that. Bravo at 13%. Well, we have to take it from somewhere else. I don't hate that number. I don't hate putting Bravo to like, I don't hate putting Bravo to like 12 or 13%. But so Dromai into Azalea, I do kind of agree with chat. I think it's probably 5.5. I think that's a very good number. The thought process there is it used to be a lot more favored, but as the tome was introduced, the average block value of the Dromai list did decrease, which kind of opened the window for a lot of Azalea's on hit effects and things like that. So I could see an argument for even 50-50, but I'm very hesitant to do that because of cards like they're going to have a lot of things for they're going to have some defensive options for like Katsu and stuff like that in the event of like sand cover and stuff like that. And that kind of stuff is very, very good into Azalea. So the one Tekla Volson does have a shot if they do come to the tournament. However, me analyzing 1/3% doesn't make any sense mathematically. More power to that person if they do bring it. So we'll move on. Bravo, I don't care what anybody says. I think this matchup's a 50-50. I know every Dromai player on the planet is going to sit there and argue with me about how, Dromai players are not even running Ghostly Touch. It's so favored, right? Like, I think this is a legit does it really matter the predicted shares exactly 12.45% for I mean, not exactly, but we do need a good ballpark because the percentages are weighed into the adjusted score. So I think Dromai into Bravo is a 50-50. Dromai into Dash is favored. I would say in the order of like 6.5. I'd say it's probably like a 65-35. And this is OG Dash. So that is... Oh, and another thing that we have to factor in real quick so we can kind of... kind of set the stage on what we're comparing, right? We are comparing world's players, right? We're not that's another reason why Dory's not on this list is with Dory, the higher skill opponent you face, the less equity you gain from like effects like Reprise and stuff like that, because they're good enough to calculate those things in and kind of know what your upside potential is and stuff like that. So with that being said, we are assuming that it's 2 players that are very, very, very competent in the matchup and kind of are experts of what they are trying to accomplish on both sides. So if you play Dromai into Bravo and you're 80% at your armory, I'm sorry, I don't give a shit. We're talking about at the absolute highest level, like possible, on both sides. Dory will have maybe 10 max players at Worlds, and that's a lot. Well, 10 would be roughly 3.5%. But, well, if there's 350 people, I'm guessing there's like 350 people, so it'd be like under 3% actually. But, yeah. For 10 people. So Katsu, I'm going to say, I know a lot of Dromai players are, I hate to say it, but Vero's right. A lot of Dromai players are going to say that it's It's 50-50 now, but I'm going to go with 4.5 if the Katsu is very good. I think that's kind of where the matchup lands. Dromai is going to be a little bit more of a dog into Phi, so we're going to say, I'm going to go as low as say 3.5 into Phi. And then Dash IO, I think she's also a slight underdog into Dash IO. I think Dash IO can really push enough aggression via on hits and those awkward break points while Dromai not having as much armor as she used to is going to present a lot of problems. And then also the deck just naturally having a decent amount of poppers that do not in any way infringe on the strategy of what the deck's trying to accomplish. And with that being said, I think that Dromai is a slight underdog. You could say 4, you could say 4.5. We're going to say that because Dash IO is kind of a lesser solved deck, I'm going to hedge and say 4.5. Just because that could be a little bit lower. I see the argument for 4. And some of these numbers we might come back and kind of go from there. But Icelander, I think that Dromai is slightly favored. I would say somewhere probably 5.5. I could see 4 for Dash IO. I honestly could. But we're going to go 4.5 just because it's a newer deck that's on the rise and they don't have enough reps kind of on the deck as a whole because it's a relatively new idea, new concept. So that's why we're going to hedge and say for 4.5 instead of 4. Here we're going to go 5.5 on Icelander just because I think it's slightly favored. Even with the blues coming out of the deck, I think everybody's running 3 Thamai, sand covers. Some people are even running Oasis. If you play a Thamai down, and there's just so many easy ways. 6.9, my man. And then Dromai into Rhinar is, I think, very bad. I'm going to say Chandler. We got Chandler too. Oh, what's up? I got to agree. I got to agree with Chandler. 3.5 on Rhinar. Atrocious match. If the Rhinar knows what they're doing, they'll sit back. They will stop your turn. They will, I've even seen the Cadaverous Contraband tech where they'll put Blood Rush Bellow back on the top after running it into a dragon. And then they'll just block, pop, until they get Blood Rush Bellow, and they will just kill you. And you can't block with cards you don't have in your hand. That is a fact. This could be a point of contention. I think Max is very, and I say very good into Dromai. I think that if Dromai does not resolve a Tumultai, it's a bad matchup for Dromai. I don't know, I don't know if this is hot off the press or if this is a hot take or not. I'm not entirely sure, but the Mechanoid, let me explain. You have a high density of poppers, so you can play the defensive game plan or whatever, and then you make the Mechanoid, and then you just high octane twin drive, and then just do 40 damage out of nowhere. It's kind of like the Brute strategy, except you're killing them in 2 turns instead of maybe 3. The Tumultai does offset if you Tumultai before they if you Tumultai before they resolve the mech card, then you just win the game. It becomes 100% win rate. They literally cannot win the game. However, if they make the mech, then you it's a 90% favorite for them if they can make the mech. And so literally what they'll do is they'll just make 3 hyperdrivers and then just sit there and play defense and pop and stuff like that, and then just literally try to kill you in 2 turns. I've been on the Dromai side of that. It's scary. I don't think it's good. I think it is also probably a 3.5. That's with the weight of That is with the weight of Tomotai factored in. Okay. So Dromai's total, like I said before, we do not care about the raw score. It's completely irrelevant. All it's doing is adding up all these numbers to equal 47. However, the adjusted score is what we are looking at. And like I said, all it's doing is saying 5 times 0.18 plus 5.5 times 0.12, and so forth, right? That's all it's doing. And then that gives you an adjusted score. So as we go down, we go from there. So here it has to be a 4.5. Here it has to be a 5. Here it has to be a 3.5. Here it has to be a 5.5. And then phi is a 6.5 and a 5.5. And Icelander is a 4.5. Then we have a 6.5. And we have a 6.5. Okay? So that's all our Dromai numbers, right? And like I said, one more time for the stream, the way that you're going to read this chart is you would read it Dromai into dash IO is 45%. Okay? You would not say Dromai into dash IO is 55. It's the horizontal deck into the vertical. Okay? That's how we're going to read this chart. Okay. So right now the adjusted score doesn't really mean anything because we don't know what to compare it to. As we close and kind of complete all of these, which will be quicker and quicker because it's less to fill out every single time, we will start getting basically what we're looking for is we're looking for that deck that's kind of like around 5.5. If we can get a deck that's like around 5.5, it's stupid good. Dominia can target the mech, yeah, but typically the mech is in their hand. I don't know what you're referring to there. Dromai could theoretically run Warhorn since she's on the royal hat. That is true. That is factually correct. That's actually not a bad idea. Is it worth it though? Is it worth like for a deck that has like a 5% meta share? Is that worth it? Correct. Less than 5 is below average. That is 100% correct. So right now, Dromai is not looking so hot because of the 5. But once again, we can change these meta shares later on and kind of adjust the numbers if we disagree with them along the way. Why not make the bottom half of the XL to next where X is? We could do it that way. If I had more time to set it up, we could do that. Absolutely, we could transpose it. Yeah, I know. We have an error. My bad. Okay, so let's keep going. So we got Azalea into Bravo. Obviously, that's an unfavored. I'm going to put it at 3.5 into Bravo. It's just not good. You try to sit up, something to actually push damage and kind of stave off fatigue. But in the process of doing that, they just hit you with a well-timed spinal or crippling, and you just fall behind, right? What is happening to Flesh and Runeblade? Sad day. Azalea into Dash is probably a decent bit favored. I'd probably put it as 6. Even if they go with the D-Reacts, the problem if they go like the pistol plan with the D-Reacts, then they can't actively boost into you, so they're not actually actively progressing the game, and you get punished even more by frailty tokens. Because if they boost and they're running D-Reacts and they miss, then their turn just ends and they just lose on value. So I'm going to put it at 3.5 for the Bravo match, and then put it at 6 for the Dash. Azalea into Katsu is like pretty good favored, probably like 6.5. Into Fi, it's probably even high as 7. Simply because, you know, Katsu pays a lower opportunity cost to run things like reinforce the line and, you know, sync blow and things like that. Because in the event that he doesn't need it, he can Katsu it away for a more offensive piece, which kind of goes exactly into the game plan that you're trying to accomplish into Azalea. So that's why I'm going to say that the Katsu matchup is not as bad as the Fi matchup. For them. It's great for Azalea, don't get me wrong. Azalea does better into D. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, I was saying that, you know, if you run the D react, the dash player can't actively progress the game. I'd say 6 into Katsu. You can lose tempo a lot easier due to block. I mean, that's a good point. But I would argue against the 6 solely on the basis of Tar Pit Trap. I think Tar Pit Trap, the inclusion of that, really swaps that matchup to a 6.5. If Tar Pit Trap wasn't in there, you bet I'd put it as 6. Dash IO, I think you're favored. I mean, you have items. I mean, you're just pushing better on hits. You know, Lace with Blood Rot better than Boom Grenade, especially when you can put Dominate on a stick. So I'm going to say probably, I want to say 6 because like stuff like adaptive plating, and they do have a decent amount of armor in the form of adaptive plating. They also have like dissolving shield, and they have some tricky stuff. They have some tricky stuff. So I'm going to put at a 6. Azalea into Icelander. I'm going to put it as a slight favorite. Probably like 5.5. Nothing amazing, but like, you know, up there. Rhinar, you're probably favored into. Rhinar's just, you know, you're actively disrupting. So I'm going to say probably a 6 there too. And then Max, you are probably... Max is more controlling. And then if he ever gets the mech out, you can really punish. So I'm going to say probably 50-50 in the Max. That's what I'm going to guess. Dash IO can't block and dies to Remorseless. That is true. But Dash does have armor on hits and stuff like Dissolving Shield and stuff like that. She has defensive tools. It's really just a matter of does that stuff line up at the same time. Could we make the argument that even though Azuri lost a good matchup in Lexi, it might have gained one in Mech? I'm gonna disagree with that notion. I think Azuri. I mean, no, I'm sorry. I agree with what you're saying, but I don't think that warrant. Like, why are you bringing Azuri to Worlds? Is ultimately the question, right? Like you're dog into this, you're good into this, you're even into this, you're okay into this, you're bad into this, good into this, bad. Like I just don't know what you're targeting. You're like, I don't know. And like, I don't think Azuri is as good into Azalea as it was Lexi. Because of things like, you know, just the abilities like Red Ledger and stuff like that. Although Red Ledger's not like game ending for Azuri, but it does negate Spider Bite, which kind of forces through those on hits. Azuri is a better pick than Rhinar for Worlds. Rhinar is good into Dromai. Rhinar is good into Bravo. Rhinar is good into Dash. Rhinar is good into Dash IO. Rhinar is good into Icelander. Rhinar is good into Max. Rhinar is good into over half these heroes. Does he get dunked on by Katsu in 5? Sure. Is it slightly bad into Azalea? Sure. I think Reinar is an amazing pick for Worlds. I'm just not Chandler, and I don't have the reps in it. But I digress. So we'll keep pushing forward. We'll keep pushing forward. So basically, Azalea's adjusted score came out to a 5.4, which is definitely above Dromai. She's above average. We consider her a good pick, a solid pick. Azuri seems like the best answer to IO, but that depends on if she's going to be well represented. But I mean, that sounds like gambling to me, right? Like you're the biggest genius on the planet if she shows up and she's 30% of the field. But I don't think one 280 person calling in a different meta is going to make that type of implication. I just don't think it's going to make that type of implication. So, will Dash IO show up? Yes, that's why they are on the chart. But I don't. It's not going to be the number one most represented deck. There's just not enough time. Yes, Bravo is a good answer to IO. Is it like amazingly favored? Probably not, but I think it is a solid answer. The next, I will concede the point that if I was going to add another hero, the next one would be, or the next two would be Levia and Azuri. I think they're close. I just don't think they quite make it there. But we'll continue on with Bravo. Bravo, your favorite into Azalea. Some of this we can already do. Yeah, so we've already said that Azalea into Bravo is a 3.5. That makes Bravo a 6.5 on the other side. Bravo into Dash is unfavored, probably 3.5 into Dash. Pretty bad matchup. I'd say probably slightly favored into Katsu. Not by a lot, though, just like 5.5. Probably just 50-50 into 5. Probably 6 into IO. 4 into Icelander. 4 into Reinar. And probably 4 into Max. So Bravo is just like middle of the road. There's an argument where you could like bump up 5 to 5.5, sure, or even Dash IO to 6.5. I think that's probably fair. But yeah, it seems like Bravo is pretty average. Yeah. 2.5 into Reinar. It is pretty bad. Yeah, it is pretty bad. I'll concede 3.5 on Reinar. Let me know, chat, if anybody disagrees with my Bravo numbers. Yes, we are assuming hybrid Dash. We are assuming. We are not assuming Turtle Dash. I could call it like a 3.5 for Reinar. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that notion. Hello, I would say Phi could be a 5.5. I could see it. I mean, I could see that. Why is the matchup, the Max matchup so bad? It's because they're playing very defensively and they try to just blow you out with the Mechanoid. And typically you cannot survive. It's kind of the same dilemma as Dromai, where you dominate crippling and they sink blow or whatever because they don't really care about boosting that much, and then they build the mech, and then once they have the mech, they basically have even more armor, and they're just buying time to get the twin drive high octane or whatever, and you can't disrupt them on that turn because so yeah, that's kind of the idea. So basically, the numbers for Bravo come out to about just average. Not below average, not above. Everybody thinks Phi is favored into Bravo. Okay. Even with Civic Steps and kind of Bravo leaning a little bit more aggressively. Is that what chat is I mean, I'll put it back down to a 5. I'll put it back down to 50-50. I'll meet in the middle on that one. Yeah, I agree with Katsu being way easier. Into 5 is not 50-50 at all. Free hammer versus 2-card hammer. Bravo can't block as wide as Oldham. Half the time I'm not trying to block when playing Bravo. As a 5 player, I love seeing Bravo. Okay. All right, we'll say 4.5 on the 5 matchup, and then we'll move Katsu up to 6. Make everybody happy. We'll widen the gap there. Okay, going to dash once again. We are assuming mid-range, just traditional dash with the pistol plant in the sideboard. No tree frog stuff. Nothing like that. Like the most extreme, I would say, the blue Evo arm pieces, and that's it. Like that. That's as spicy as we're getting with the regular one. So we've already said that dash into Azalea is a 4 because we've indicated it above. Here, let's just go ahead and fill these in so that way we don't have to do them later. And then 4, and then 4.5, and then 4, and then 5. And then here we have 6.5, and 4, and 5.5, and 3.5, and 6, and 6.5, and 6. Okay? So that catches us up on both ways. And like I said, this gets way quicker the further down we go, obviously. Okay. 5 players thinking Bravo blocks. Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. But I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Average 5 versus average Bravo might be 5 favored, but Master Pilot will be close to 50-50. Yeah. We're assuming top caliber in for both. Okay, we'll go back to 50-50. Phi isn't an illusionist. It can't be 90-90. Oh, good one. Okay, so dash into Katsu. I would say that's probably 50-50. I think it's just a skill check. Does the dash block correctly? Dash has more consistent pressure, whereas Katsu has more explosiveness, but the explosiveness can be kind of managed and mitigated. So I'm going to put that one at a 50-50, which is also going to go right there. Here, I'll just do them as we go to make it easier. Dash into Phi is probably a slight underdog. I'm going to say an ever so slight underdog. Dash into Dash IO, I have to go with Alan Lau's word on this. He said that at the highest level of both, it's a slight IO favored. So we're going to say 4.5 into 5.5. Icelander, you're definitely favored. Probably like 6.5 into 3.5. And then Reinar, you're an underdog, so probably 3.5, 6.5 down here. Look how Reinar is doing, y'all. I'm telling you, Reinar, I put money on it. Reinar is gonna be the best one on this list. Dash into Max. I think Max gets the edge because he basically dictates the speed and says, look, we're going to play this slow. If you boost into me, I'll fatigue you. If not, Reinar a 4? Okay. I can go with that. If you're willing to talk against Reinar, I'm willing to assume that you have zero bias, and I got to take your word on that one, Chandler. Run R4. Okay. So that's what we're looking at for Dash. So Dash for this event, and it's mainly driven. You look at the spread, it's like, oh, that's not too bad because like your two matchups are like the lowest represented of the two. The problem is you're kind of bad into the two most represented as well, but you're kind of really good into or average into like the rest of the field, which is why Dash is kind of ending up to be a not so great pick. Oh, look, a chart. Who would have guessed? I know. You could argue Dash Phi is a true 50-50. You could. I think Talishar Dash can kind of get to the 50-50, maybe even slightly favor. But if you're not abandoning that really hard pistol plan, I think it's slightly Phi favored. Max is looking pretty hot though. I'm not gonna lie. Max looking pretty good too. So Katsu. Let's go into Katsu. Like I said, if you have any qualms or opinions, just throw them in chat. I would love to hear them. Just give me a reason. Say like, some of it I can take it on face value, right? Like I put Reinar at a 3 at a, or I put the Dash into Reinar at a 3.5 and Chandler said it was a 4, but Chandler like loves Reinar, so I kind of got to go with him if he's willing to say it's not as bad as that. Okay. But try it. If not, just give me something to work with. I know Dash's got Dromai closer to 50-50, but that was pre-tome. Don't know what changed. Yeah, I think it's pre-tome. Tome just, my God, it's so good. Katsu into Phi, I think you have the edge, probably in the order of 60%, just because you have on hits and you kind of force them to block if not. Katsu into Dash IO is actually pretty good, probably. I think you have better on hits and they really need to block, which mitigates the throughput of their turns. So I'm going to put that one in as a 6 as well. And then Katsu into Icelander, you are a dog, probably like 3.5 there. And then Katsu into Reinar, you're a favorite, probably along the order of 60%. Just because you're never going to give him the opportunity. Maybe even 6.5 into Reinar. Check me on that, Chandler. Katsu into Max. If his transformation turn lines up on like one of Katsu's kind of like inconsistent turns, then you definitely like have the ability to like take that one away. But at the same time, it's getting to the transformation that's really going to Dash IO very good versus Katsu. Really? Dash IO very good versus Katsu. Interesting. I guess you're just the better aggro deck? That's Sasha, right? Marco Victory. I think that's Sasha. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, but I'll meet you in the middle. I'll meet you in the middle at 50-50 on the Dash IO. I do have to claim ignorance on that one. I have not played that matchup, so Katsu gets a buy into Max. It's really painful on Max's side. Okay. Testing it a little today, Katsu feels really good into Dash IO. That's what I thought, but does the dishonor threat matter against Max? Not really against Max. Max feels like Bolton to me. He's a little bit better than that. I don't know. This is a tough one. Katsu into Max. Well, let's look at their game plans real quick. What are they trying to accomplish? Obviously, Katsu's just trying to get his life to 0 as quick as possible. Max has to establish 3 hyper, because you're never racing Katsu with Max. Like that's just a pipe dream. So you basically transform or lose, right? So if that's your win con on just like a value basis, then you basically have to, okay, what are the chances? You have to get to 3 hyperdrivers. How difficult is that? Well, it's actually pretty fucking difficult because you got to pay 2. You can only block like 1 card. Okay, so like once you get 3 hyperdrivers, you're probably at anywhere between 20 25 life. Then you have to actively pay for the transformation. And then you have to extract the value from said transformation. So it probably is pretty bad for Max, actually. So we're going to probably put 60-40 after walking it kind of through my brain a little bit. Against Max, only before 3 hybrid. Yeah. What do you think of Briar in this meta? Yeah, I wish I could play Briar. I wish. That would be so good. But nope. Doesn't exist anymore. All right, let's go to Phi, the Lesser Ninja. Phi into Dash.io. I think it's kind of a meme. I think Dash.io has better on hits, better damage, better throughput with life gain from Tome. Like, honestly, the more that I think about it, ever since Dash.io kind of came to light from the calling in Australia, why would you play Phi? Like, your Dash.io is good into Dromai. Like, but doesn't fold into as much of the, like, I don't know. I think Dash.io is very good into Phi. So I'm going to say probably like 3.5 into 6.5. And then for Icelander, you're an underdog. Not too terrible, but like 40% probably. It'd be 50-50 if we had Belittle, but that's not the case anymore. Fine, to Reinar is probably really favored, probably even a little bit more than Katsu. So if Katsu's a 6.5, then we probably have to put Phi to 7. Check me on that, Chandler, but I think that's pretty good. 70-30, I know that's a rough one. Max, you probably just kill Max before he does the thing, because you got the damage. So we'll go 3.5 there. Let me catch up on chat real quick. That's my numbers for Phi. Let me know if you agree or disagree. And like I said, we'll go over the numbers, kind of talk about some things. What we will also do, once we finish the chart, chat, don't go anywhere. If you want me to basically kind of work on a certain archetype, just let me know. I'll change the numbers accordingly, right? Like, let's say you want to know what Big Dragon Dromai is, right? Then we can we can go back over these numbers real quick and kind of get an idea of what it is, right? You just got to let me know like what the overall strategy is, and we can get there, right? So if you're interested on something like you're working on or anything like that, just throw it in chat at the end, not right now. Please do not put it in there right now. I can't do it. We got to finish first, but then we can kind of get to any other deck if you really want to. So Dash.io into Icelander. I thought this was extremely favored for Dash. However, I did underestimate the blue count in Dash.io. I think this is a true 50-50, maybe even slight underdog for Dash.io. I'm going to put it at 45 and then 5.5 for Icelander. That's kind of where I got Dash.io. This chart looks really good already. I appreciate it. Dash.io is the better numbers deck. I agree. Dromai to Max should be 90. Yeah, but I do agree it's very bad for Dromai, but I had to factor in Tumultai. I had to. I'm more scared of Phi than Katsu is Dash.io. Really? Really? Sasha, you said I'm more scared of Fi than Katsu is Dash.io. Is it surely on the basis of consistency, or is it? I know, it's fucked up. I know. There, we fixed it. Let's see. Is it just off of the basis for consistency that sometimes Katsu falls on his feet and kind of gives you a window? Just pure consistency. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, we'll adjust that. We'll adjust that. Phi into Dash.io. We'll say 4.5 and 5.5. So still favored, but not as favored as Katsu. Did I say that right? No, it's more favored than Katsu. Just not as much. I just shortened the delta is all it did. But that does make sense. I can agree with that. I would guess Reinar 6.5, but haven't played the matchup. Okay. 6.5 for Reinar. Okay. Okay. Let's see. I think here we are assuming Kadachi. As a 5 player, I don't think Azalea and DM are that bad. I know Azalea is bad for 5. 100%. I can give you the benefit of the doubt on Dash.io, but I think as people really play the deck a lot more, I think 5 versus Reinar is closer to a flip than with a mid-range Reinar rather than all-in Blood Rush. Well, I think for a lot of... Yeah. 5 versus Reinar is closer to a flip. Rather than all-in Blood Rush. Yeah, that is true. Warmonger is also great in Dash.io. That is true. That is a fact. Sorry, that was for Dash.io. Oh, okay. Dash.io. Okay, so Dash.io into Reinar. I'm pretty sure it's got to be... Here, we'll go 6 there. And 4 on the Reinar. And then so Dash.io into Reinar, probably. I mean, Dash.io's got the on hits, the life gain to kind of widen the gap to demand you to get to more copies of Blood Rush Bellow. So I think it might actually be closer to a 50-50 match. To be honest, I agree that 5 is probably a bit better than 3 into Azalea. 5 has a ton of armor. Nothing to see here. Oh, we got Thomas in the chat. What's up, Thomas? Great work on the Dash.io list. I think it's pretty cool stuff. Aggro meta, where's Dory? Not at Worlds. That's where Dory is. Not at Worlds. You need Azalea to low roll if you're playing Fi. Yeah, armor's not going to save you. Yep, I agree with that notion. Brute item destruction isn't really effective versus Dash.io. Yeah. I agree because the items are not like heavily invested like they are in OG Dash, and you also have like breakpoints, which Reinhardt can struggle with. I wonder how scaling Fleshbag is going to be into Dash.io. I think, you know, if Max V is not in Arsenal, it could be kind of a pipe dream if the Reinhardt player is very disciplined. But, you know, it just depends. You could easily work around that. I don't know the answer to this matchup, to be honest with you, but I'm going to put... It's probably a 50-50, to be honest with you. I don't think it's like particularly one way or the other. Yeah. Thomas, what do you think? What do you think the matchup is? Dash.io into Reinhardt. Right now I have a 50-50. But you're like a really good aggro deck with good numbers. Like, you should be good into Reinhardt, is what my gut's telling me. I just haven't played the matchup. Also, 2 blacks don't look too good. 2 blocks are not good, especially against Azalea. 5 players are coping. No, I mean, I get what they're saying. Like, you can jam the armor, get 1 good turn in. The difference is like Katu can do the same thing, but literally like kill Azalea in 1 turn. Levian, she's very good into the meta with the exception of ninjas. Doesn't even need the item hate for the new mechs. Well, that's the thing. You don't need item hate for the new mechs. I think item hate, well, it affects max. I'll take that back. Yeah, it just blows max up. But Thomas said probably pretty even. Yeah, that's like, yeah, that's exactly what I said. Scaling is a monster. Dash.io into max. I want to say that one's pretty even. Like, if they get to the mechanoid, that's a very scary situation. Block's good. You know, it can get kind of weird there. I do think 6.5 at least into Reinhardt. All I have is CNC and a raised face to disrupt. That's what my gut wants to tell me, is like you're a really good aggro deck that can really just push a lot of damage on breakpoints and on hit effects and stuff like that via boom grenade, obviously. I've played the matchup once. It's Dash.io on 1, therefore I believe it's unwinnable. Thanks for the intel, Zachary. Not saying Azalea is not favored, but I just don't think it's as bad as a 3. What's up, Nathan? Glad you made it home safe and sound from the weekend. Sunday's event was good. I enjoyed it. Thanks for joining me, Justin. It was a good time. The whole weekend was good. Thomas won against Max twice in the calling, therefore is a hard favorite. I mean, I could see, like, you kill Max before and apply pressure, but if they transform, I can go slight favorite. I think that's valid. Icelander into Reinhardt. If they're heavy on Intimidate, it's unfavored. Probably something along the lines of like 40-60. Icelander into Max is probably pretty good. You just disrupt them from ever doing anything, right? So you're probably pretty favored into that one. So just the same thing. And then to close it out, Reinhardt into Max, you do shorten the runway that they have to, like, they're probably going to get to, unless you just have an insane Blood Rush turn, they're going to get to the transformation. The problem is I don't think they're going to be at a high enough life total because of the intimidates that they're going to be able to like set up a high octane and twin drive and kind of like mech you out of the game, right? So I think that the Reinar and Max matchup is probably slightly Reinar favored, if I had to guess. That's just my guess. ARGs. Oh, yeah. ARG Smash. Duh. That's a 70-30 all day. Duh. What am I thinking? Overthinking the crap out of it. Mechanoid is an item. That's a fact. Brutes are normally good against Icelander. If the Icelander gets tempo, the runner starts having a bad time. Yeah. Yeah. The more intimidate, the more favored. Icelander to Reinar is at least a 50-50. I personally think that it's way better than that simply due to the fact that Reinar isn't above rate on most turns. Yeah, but like actively telling you can't block with the cards you want to block to, I think is enough to make up that value. Can't Reinar just sideboard item destruction and get rid of the mega? Yeah. Yeah, I was overthinking that, guys. My bad. Reinar beats items. That's a fact. I do think Max is favored in Icelander. What? Just depends if they can keep the aggression against the Icelander. Max is favored versus Icelander. Okay. Everybody keeps telling me that. So I'll meet everybody in the middle. I'll say 50-50. Resource banking and all right, you guys talk me into it. There. Are we good? It's Icelander 40 into Max. So, this is the first revision of the chart, okay? The first thing that I want to draw attention to, once again, the raw score is also one thing that I'm going to do is if anybody is interested, what I will do is I will save the copy of this chart and I will post it in the TheCardGuyz Discord general chat at the conclusion of this stream. What I more than encourage people to do is if you disagree with my numbers, download the Excel sheet and just change the numbers yourself, right? Like you say Phi is 40% to Azalea instead of 30, then make those changes. See how the numbers change and stuff like that. I really do encourage that. So at the conclusion of this, I will post the chart into the general chat in the TheCardGuyz Discord. More than happy to do so. And you can kind of like, or maybe you have the spice, right? Maybe you have the spice and your archetype within your hero kind of operates a little bit differently than how the hero is portrayed in the current situation. And you need to adjust the numbers accordingly because you have solved X issues, right? So I'm going to post that there. So let's look at this chart because it's more than just look at the green number, best green number, better, right? There's a little bit more to that. So obviously the most important number, like I mentioned before, is this left column. So since you didn't add Azuri, my cope is that it's a good pick since I can't visualize the spread. Yeah, there you go. There you go, Hunter. That's reading between the lines right there. So let's kind of review. Let's double check our numbers, make sure everything's right, and kind of talk. So the raw score, like I said, is not anything. It's just simply the addition of all the numbers to the left. Prism's so good, it's not even available. Yeah. This is not the meta for Prism, unfortunately. I don't believe. There's just not a whole lot to be gained as a Prism player. Uh, 5 versus Azalea is probably a 4 instead of a 3. Like the. All right. There's like 6 people who've said that in chat. Whether it's right or wrong, I'm going to change it. Okay. Congratulations, chat. You ruined the possibility of Azalea being the best pick for Worlds. Single-handedly. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Azalea is a little inflated. Now that I think about it, I do think that the phi number is a little bit high on the representation. Like with Dash, I think Dash IO is just simply going to steal the meta share of phi. So I do kind of want to shift phi to 8 and give it to Dash IO and put Dash IO to 12. So bear with me. I know it's not like in ascending order, if you will. I do kind of like that, which obviously is going to change up everything, right? It's going to make certain things better, certain things worse, whatever the case may be. The most interesting thing to do with this, the most interesting aspect of this chart is that Katsu and Dromai are the 2 worst, or other than Dash, OG Dash. You need to fix 5 versus Bravo. 5.5 and 5. Phi into Bravo is 5.5. And then the mirror is 5. You are correct. You are correct. It'd be 4.5. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Chat just wants to run art to be the highest number. Well, they did it. They did it. I put an Azalea to 4 on Azuri, hitting them with a Humble. Humble's pretty good into Azalea. Okay, so let's analyze this chart real quick. Let's kind of dig into it and kind of see what we can extract from it, what could be wrong with it, and things like that. Okay, why is Dromai going to be the most represented deck, but it's not? So, first of all, I want to verify this number. It seems a little low. I did not expect Dromai to be the best, but at the same time, maybe, I mean, Dromai, I think, is a 55% into Azalea. I don't think it's like super favorite. I 100% stand by the Bravo being 50-50. Dromai into Dash is like favored, like it is. Dromai into Katsu is a slight underdog. I really believe that. Dromai into Phi is a dog. Dash IO is slightly unfavored. It's slightly favored into Icelander. I mean, you could bump the Dromai up to a 6 on Icelander. I could kind of get behind that. It's bad into Rhinar. It's bad into Max. I agree with those. The number is low because you have Ninja overrepresented. I mean, I think Ninja. I don't think it's outlandish to say that Ninja will be 18% of the meta, right? Or is that? Or are we looking like 8% Katsu and 8% and then throw that into Bravo? What about that, chat? Do we think that's better? That we go 8 into both the ninjas, so we'll say 16% of the meta is ninja total. Do we agree with that? 8% apiece instead of 10%? Kind of knock 4% off? Because these numbers are the most important. 100%. These numbers are the most important. Yeah, that seems good. Ninja's over-repped. I think Bravo's under-repped. Well, good thing I gave the ninja points to Bravo. I think Phi will be more represented than Katsu, honestly. Max 65% into Dromai is quite the hot take. Okay, Nick, let's talk about it. I'm assuming that's Nick Butcher, right? So here's my thought process, right? I'm more than willing to concede that I'm wrong, right? But this is my thought process, right? So Max has a strong basis of poppers, right? That cohesively goes into the game plan of the hero. So there's no real opportunity cost given. And they can play very defensively, right? Pop your dragons, kind of clean some up when it's convenient, establish 3 hyperdrivers, and then just freeze, right? Then just kind of use pistol to clear dragons when it's convenient after popping, and then wait on the mech. Then they establish the mech, and then from that point on, they wait for the twin drive and the high octane, and then they just blow you out in one turn. That is my experience. And of course, the dragons could begin to get overwhelming. I understand that aspect of it. But at the same time, it might be more conducive if the Dromai player has cards like Blaze Headlong and stuff like that, where they can lead damage before actually getting popped. But where the current list, like yours in Australia and stuff like that, I think that list specifically. Right, but Tumultai, don't you have to? Yeah. So down to Dromai. Yeah. Tumultai doesn't say that you drop the armor to 0. Right? It just says destroy something with a -1 counter on it, right? Is that how it's worded? Let me check the wording on it real quick. But yeah, it has to be 0. So as long as they transform before you get Tumultai, you can't blow it up. As long as they don't block with it, right? Correct. You have to get Tumultai before they transform. Right? So if they transform, the mech has 5 defense. They can basically block with it twice at no cost. No, they can block with it once. No, yeah, they can block with it twice. Go down to 3 block on the mech. Then if you ever resolve Tumultai, you drop it to 1. You can't blow it up. Right? So with that being said, you play the slow game plan. Or you're literally just trying to keep your life total as high as possible and then transform into the mech as quickly as possible. And then at that point, once you're transformed, you can't Tumultai shit. There's not anything to Tumultai. All Tumultai is going to do is just reduce the amount of times Max can block with his mech. That's it. That's all it does. How many poppers are they having? I mean, you got Big Berthas. You got, there's a lot. You got Rev Ups. You got, there's a lot of poppers in that deck, just naturally. I 100% agree that if you Tumultai before they transform, it's 100% win rate. It's not even close. But if they can transform, which I guess that's the argument, right? You have to mathematically say at what turn do they transform on average? I would say turn 5, maybe 6 is probably pretty average for a max. So what's the chances of you drawing Tumultai? Not only that, drawing it and resolving it and not missing by turn 5 or 6 as a one of. Like that, I don't know. I could be wrong, Nick, but that's just where my thought process is. That's where my thought process is. Dromai was running Oldham and Bravo out of poppers. There's no way. No, so you're not fatiguing. All you're doing is buying time to get to the mech. That's all the point of the popper is. You're just buying time. Especially since you have one Tilmatai in the deck and they have 3 mechs. Yeah, that's kind of my thought process. I disagree with the Rhinar Matrix against Dromai. It feels more like a 50-50 matchup after Tome. I got a hard disagree with the Rhinar being a 50-50. If both players are at very equal skill level, there's no way that's a 50-50. But that's why they're not boosting into you. That's not the point. They're simply trying to manage the board, transform, then twin drive high octane you to sleep, and deal like 35 in one turn. To assemble a mech, you either need a steam counter, put on a token driver, or cast a red. Yep. That's true. I agree with Vero. The controlled matchup is we can clear 3 dragons a turn. Hyrule items to win. Yeah. Control dash, sure. 100%. They have to be boosting to manage the board. That is somewhat true. A little bit. What's not shown here is the 4% bold. What do you think? Rhinar looks so good on this chart, but he hasn't historically done well because of Lexi. Because of Lexi is the answer to that question. Look, chat, you guys are spitting too many facts. I can't handle it. Okay. We'll say it's a 4.5. Can we agree on that, chat? A slight underdog? Ever so slight? Dromai players agree they are 50-50 in a Bravo, a deck that has much poppers, if not more than Rhinar, with hits. Okay. That point doesn't make any sense. The amount of poppers is not what makes the Rhinar match so bad for Dromai. It's the fact that they have enough poppers to stop your turn every single turn. They wait for a card that literally says deal 25 to my opponent. They resolve it, and then they go back to being defensive. Matthew Vore said this guy is huffing the copium in Dromai versus Rhinar matchup. Are you referring to me or the guy talking about poppers? Let me know, Matthew. Are you saying I'm huffing the copium? Nathan knows about Rhinar when he went against. Don't let the illusion of Sims win. Let me know, Matthew. Are you talking about me or the guy in chat? I need to know. Azuri player in shambles. I think Mex versus Icelander should be more favored than 6+. Okay, I was just making sure, Matthew. I was like, I'm like 90% sure that matchup is like dog shit for Dromai. But like, Rhinar's also tech for Dromai. Just that intro to that sentence, Chandler, says it all. I play 2 blue cadaverous contrabands to put the right back on top and then just kill you even quicker. Insane. Prism's death 4.9%. Not shown here, but Dark Horse winner. Okay. So now once again, especially since Matthew's in here, Matthew, this is assuming the middle road between Mara and your list, right? Kind of more like Nick Butcher's kind of Australia list. is kind of what we're looking at. The inclusion of tomes, cutting Necria, stuff like that. Not the Blue Pursuit and stuff like that. Just right there in the middle. Not too aggressive, not too big dragon. Just right there in the middle. That is what these numbers are based off of. So this chart says to play Rhinar. I mean, Rhinar's got to be decent. Let's double check the Rhinar numbers and make sure we're not crazy, okay? We've already talked about Rhinar into Dromai, right? It's super good. Rhinar to Azalea is pretty bad. You don't really get affected by Red Ledger unless you're trying to Blood Rush Bellows, so that's kind of convenient, but like it's still bad. Your Scouting Flesh Bag really doesn't do a whole lot because they don't have go again too terribly often. Then you have Bravo and Dash. Bravo, you intimidate the card that he wants to block with. It's horrendous. OG Dash, you just destroy the valuable items, and then you can either fatigue them if they try to boost into you, or you kill them with Blood Rush if they don't. Katsu can kind of, the ninjas both, just bad for Rhinar because they can just put on the aggression, right? Dash IO, we really truly didn't know. You get 0 value from your item destruction, but at the same time, you really. I'm not confident on this number on the Rhinar into IO. It tells me that it's unfavored for Rhinar because you are playing into an aggro deck, right? That's like really, that is just really good. That's historically what Rhinar's bad into is heavy aggro, right? And you don't get any value from really intimidating. I mean, Dash IO is not really trying to block a whole lot. Sometimes they have excess cards, but not a whole lot. And then Rhinar into Icelander historically has been a favorite. Intimidate the card that they want to block with because they always want to block with a card or two every single turn. If you get the wrong card, it just really messes with them. Max, you just destroy the mech. I mean, these numbers all check out after just going back over them again. I don't know what else to say. Maybe, chat, just maybe, Rhinar's actually good. Maybe Rhinar is actually good. Can everybody just protest the LO changes by playing Kano and Kano only? Get more downtime during the streams for giveaways and box openings. I can get behind that. Question for Chandler, if he's still in the chat, how do you feel Savage Feast now post-meta after Lexi? Can Rhinar fatigue Dash IO? I doubt it. With red backup protocol, access to multiple max velocities, I kind of doubt it, to be honest with you. Vero's got a good point. Kano mirrors are not short. What's Dromai's matchup into Swedish Fish? 100%. Because Swedish Fish are trash. Absolutely trash. They could fatigue, but the problem is it's not like Bravo, where like if you're trying to fatigue them, they set up and then you punish the setup, right? Rhinar doesn't, other than CNC, doesn't really have in a race phase, like Chandler said, doesn't really have the the ability to do that. Crazy the win-loss is 0-0 at the moment. Ben Dodd was talking about Azuri being an awful pick into Worlds. Yeah, because it is. It is a bad pick. But he did claim the contract Azuri may have some game. I mean, yeah, like it is a deck of cards that can be played in the game of Flesh and Blood. But like, are you going to fly across the country to like throw spider bite at people? Like, I just don't see it. Sorry, Mark. Swedish Fish ain't it. They ain't it. Blood Rush and Lexi is gone. Look at that. So let's kind of think about this chart for a second, right? Reinar is obviously an overperformer that we were not expecting. Well, I was expecting it because I've been trying to preach that Reinar, ever since I made that tweet about the, I did on one of the streams where I did like the heroes that had like really good answers to the meta and stuff like that. I've been really high on Reinar, and people said I was wrong, but like, I guess we'll see. The Bravo gameplay was clickbait. We learn in Reinar now. We might have to. Let's just all watch Chandler play. We all know only one Dory player, and at the moment he's busy breaking Bolden. Yep, that's a fact. That is an absolute fact. So, like I said, let's dig into this chart a little bit more. Just some key takeaways. So, overall, the perception of Dromai seems lower than expected. Azalea seems about where we expected. Getting Bullseye Bracers back is obviously a huge boon. And the only real bad matchup is just Bravo, really. That's the only one where she's in a truly rough spot. Bravo is kind of looking a lot more mid than a lot of people were expecting. You kind of win a lot of matchups by a decent amount, Azalea, Dash.io, and Katsu even, but like you also lose some matches like Dash and Icelander and Reinar pretty bad as well. For Dash, I think everybody was expecting Dash to be higher, but I mean, given that you're not good into the top two decks, it does make sense of why Dash is not doing too hot. My thought process going into it from a ninja perspective was kind of, I'm not too terribly sure why you would bring Katsu instead of Fi, because if you're bringing Ninja, it's obviously to kind of pick on Dromai a little bit and have some other upsides, but why not pick the one that's just better into Dromai, right? I don't think the matchup spread, and this kind of proves it as well, I don't think the matchup spread really justifies bringing Katsu over Fi. I could be wrong on that. I could be wrong, but that's what this data says, and like it's not like straight data where it's like absolutely true and you can't argue it. I just think that it's pretty decent. Dash.io, the talk of the town. Good into Dromai, bad into Azalea, bad into Bravo. Good into Dash, mid into Katsu, and pretty good into Fi, a little bad into Icelander. It's just kind of decent into everything except 2 decks. Is kind of where it's at. Which makes perfect sense because it's exceptionally mid, is what this says. Icelander is kind of polarizing a little bit. You're really bad into Dash, Max, and Rhinar, and then kind of good into just about everything else except for the top 2 decks. So Icelander, I think, is in a worse spot than a lot of people believed. It's also why I sent the tweet out, I think it was yesterday, where I said that I did not think Icelander was that great of a pick. This is kind of why. From pure numbers basis, it's what, the 3rd or 4th worst deck on the list. But people will still bring it. So plan for that. We've already discussed Rhinar. Max, I think, is a better pick than people realize, but you still have a lot of risk associated with the ninjas and Rhinar. But everything else is pretty decent. You don't have anything that's like super atrocious. So depending on how much you're willing to kind of gamble and tumble tie, I think that I think Max is not a bad pick. It's not one that I'm going to wager my once a year tournament on, but you know, Icelander will still win Worlds anyway. I don't think so. I don't think so. Azalea has always had issues with Bravo. Feels bad, absolutely. I've been preaching Reinhardt's a great pick for a while. Everyone laughed at me. Glad I've spread the sheet to it. The Azalea Dromai 5 situation is interesting. If Dromai is most common, 5 becomes more common, which makes Azalea better. Yep. Yeah, I think it's like a rectangle format more so than a triangle format. Also, if you're not running at least one copy of Monocle, you're wrong. It's a cool card, but like, is it worth the opportunity cost and no block? Dreadbore, if Riptide is 70% of the meta. If not, Death Dealer is more consistent and gives higher ceiling. Yeah, you could run a Dreadbore on the side. Death Dealer's always been best bow. I feel like we need to... quantify these numbers based off of 350 people attending so people can grasp it. I mean, what is there to like base it off of? We're just working off of like percentages. It doesn't matter if 18% of 350 is 50 people, right? Is that actually a good data point? I don't know. Icelander is still no Kano, no Azuri is a big call for such good heroes. I don't think those 2 heroes are a good pick for this tournament. I could be wrong, but that's my opinion. Why shouldn't we believe in Azalea? Why shouldn't we believe Azalea is the strongest pick? I don't disagree with that point. I think if you're kind of... Somebody might look at this table and say, okay, Azalea and Rhino are the 2 best picks. It makes sense when somebody would say that and be like, you know, but I don't want to like roll scabs with Rhino or something along that. But I would make the argument, now I know Levi is going to correct me on this, but like Azalea, if you ever come off of an arsenal, is a very... varianced deck, right? And sometimes you have to, or sometimes they present something that forces you into that situation or that line, right? And then Azalea can be very inconsistent. I will agree that Azalea is very consistent because you can look multiple cards down to find whatever it is you need if you can rotate the arsenal. However, if you don't, it can be very inconsistent. So these 2 heroes are some of the most inconsistent heroes on the list. It is my personal opinion. With Dash.io being a close third on the level of consistency. Yep, just like they said in chat just now, Azalea are two most inconsistent here. Yes. But sometimes, well, I think playing inconsistent heroes is better the less rounds that you have. I guess it really mathematically depends on like your input, like how good you are at draft. If you know you're good at draft and you want to pick the more stable of the two, and then so forth. A lot of Worlds competitors will drop after draft pod day 1, and it will skew who's still in contention as a good deck the last round of CC. Well, we're doing CC first, then draft, right? And then we're doing draft again, yes. So basically, we'll get a good read on the meta at the end of the last round of CC is kind of where we'll see the best picture. Correct. Draft rounds will change the data 100%. Absolutely. Azalea isn't as clunky as people think. I agree. If you can keep the arsenal rotating. I'm not assuming Sand Scour, but that does add even another card that you can look down. I'm assuming Death Dealer in the situation. Kind of wild to me that you think Azalea will be at 12%. I would have said 5 to 8. I think Azalea is an amazing pick, and I think a lot of players are seeing that. Not only that, but I think a lot of people had their eye on Azalea simply because of the bullseye suspension being lifted. I think that is a great data point to kind of like to go off of. I played Death Dealer Lexi and have for ages. I'm burnt on the deck because even with all the tools, it's inconsistent. Yeah. The old Runeblade syndrome. Yeah, it's CC first. They used to do it that way, but now they, like Vero said, we always do CC first now. And the idea there is to put better players in the same pod, or more even skilled players in equally skilled pods, basically. Agree with Anthony. Dromai may be a larger portion of the meta than we think. Okay, let's play with the numbers real quick. Let's move some stuff around and see what happens. Let's say Dromai's 25%. Okay. Now, that scaled everything up because now we have a total sum of 107%. So now we need to add... we need to take away 7% somewhere. Okay, so Peter mentioned that Azalea is kind of a little overrepresented. We'll say just 10%, or we'll even say 8% on Azalea. Okay, and then so we still need to make up another 3%. Let's say that Dash is looking a little weak. We'll go to 8 there, and then we'll take Icelander down to 9. Okay, so this should give us an even... Yep, that's 100%. So this is Dromai being a quarter of the room. Holy shit, Reinhardt's even better. Who would have known? Azalea got a little worse because, you know, more of the room is her one of 2 bad matchups. She's still an amazing pick, but it did increase the spread on Fi and making Fi, quote unquote, the second best deck. And like I said, these are the most important numbers, okay? The most important numbers are the meta share numbers, okay? Like, let's say that the meta is not very wide open. Let's magnify it even more. Let's say we have like a true rectangle format. Let's say it's 20% Bravo. Let's say it's 2% max. What percent are we at? 205. Where are we at now? 104. Let's shave 4 off of Icelander. Or let's go 7, not 57. Let's go 7 and then 10 on Dash.io. Okay. That should give us 100. And that's what that situation would look like, right? Dash becomes even worse. Dromai goes back down to being not amazing. And this situation really puts Azalea in her place because Bravo becomes a large percentage, which is a decent, like, theoretical scenario, right? Rhinar still is the best deck. It seems like no matter how we change this, that does seem to be the case. But I mean, we could do a whole bunch of scenarios. We can. Let me know, chat, if you want me to change, whatever percentage into something else. Just let me know. We can change it. We can talk about it. I'm all ears. But if Bravo shows up in droves, then Azalea becomes a lot less attractive, right? And that's kind of what has been shown in this scenario because we upped the percentage in Bravo as much as we did. Reinhardt plus 300 points. Easy clap. That's what I'm talking about. It's a good pick. 30% Reinhardt. I'm not putting this in that chat. In that chart. No shot. 30% will not be Reinhardt. These numbers are also inflated because we don't have 5% other. That's correct. That is correct. There is a 5% hedge for inflation. That is an actual fact. But with that being said, if we have the 5% other, we're not actually improving the data any because it's hard to come up with an actual win percentage into like 7 different heroes with one hero, right? So that's just a flaw of analyzing the meta. It's not anything that we can actually... We would have to walk all the heroes down and say like 0.5% and stuff like that. But that's just too time consuming. I'm not going to do it. I'm sorry. Don't think Katsu will be more than 5%. If for some reason you mentioned that, Ninja will choose Phi. Okay, so if we move Katsu to 5, what would we move up by 3? Maybe round Azalea out to 10, make Icelander 8. That kind of situation. I think that's 100. Yep, it's 100. So that's kind of what that would look like. If Dromai and Rhinar are good, then Phi looks really good. Just need to dodge Bravo and Azalea. I agree. I think Nathan just loves variants from Blade Main, trying to convince himself to play Brute. If I had more time, I would seriously consider it. I'll be honest. Phi beats Rhinar, therefore Phi is now the best deck. I mean... If only people believed me when I said Rhinar is one of the best choices you can make, that statement would be true. I just think that Rhinar is one of those decks that no matter how good it is, I don't think it could ever be the most played deck. One thing the data doesn't show is the quality of players. Difference between the first Dromai and the 40th ranked Dromai in the room. Yeah, we're assuming top level play from all. Yeah, there's no way to... I mean, we're talking about the World Championship, right? What deck do you think the majority of Lexi players pivot to. I mean, it seems like a lot of the Lexi players are just Spike players that just want to play whatever they perceive the best deck to be. I think that a lot of them are going to try Azalea just because they're getting Bullseye Bracers back and they remember how good that card was. I think a lot of them will immediately pivot back off of Azalea because of they can't just realize, or they'll realize that they can't just block 3 and play 3 of a kind and off of Tunic counter and stuff like that. So with that being said, I don't know exactly, but what I do know is they'll just chase the meta, whether that be Dash.io, Dromai. I doubt they'll go to Dromai. It'll probably be Azalea, one of the ninjas, or Dash.io is where a lot of them will kind of land up. Why do you think Rhinar is good into Bravo? Well, Sasha, I believe that there's very particular cards that Bravo wants to block with, right? Of course, there is redundancy within the blue spot, right? Historically, you would imagine that like if they intimidated a card out, it would be the shitty blue that you want to block with, right? But if the reason that there is a shitty blue is typically because there are more blues in the hand associated with the ability to fulfill the needs of the hand with those blues, and that's what makes that other blue shitty, right? So there is some redundancy built in there, but like, let's say you get multiple reds in your hand. Let's say 2 blue, 2 red. If they intimidate one of the reds, then you're kind of like saying that you have to arsenal that one, and it might not be the one that you want to arsenal. Dagan saying Bravo favored. Bravo favored. I mean, I could be wrong on that one. I thought it was bad. But maybe I take that back. You know what? I'll take that as a flaw. So I kind of walked in with assuming that the Bravos were still being a little bit more defensive. But Bravos are obviously being much more aggressive nowadays, so maybe it is. I think it's still like Rhinar favored, but not nearly as bad as I'm putting. So we'll say 4.5 and 5.5 on the reverse. 5.5. Let's do that. Chandler said Rhinar with a remembrance and some extra D reacts. I do think 3 sync 2 immovable is very comfortable in the Bravo. Flesh Black also helps against card like Zealous or Rouse if they go aggro. Absolutely. Also, if the pummel comes from hand, it can stop the obvious pummel. If you want the more mathematical answer, it's because in the hero art, Rhinar is holding a goat, and that's very scary. That's why he's favored. No, I just... For some reason, I was like, Intimidate, can't block with the card that Bravo wants to block with, but with using that logic, you're assuming... You're kind of defaulting to the assumption that Bravo is actively trying to block Rhinar, which is the case sometimes on a bad hand, but majority of the time it is send your biggest threat and worry about the rest, right? I would concede the fact that I was kind of being a little hard on Bravo there. What about Azuri? I don't think Azuri is a good pick for this tournament. I really don't. I think Azuri is an underdog into Dromai. I think you're barely a favorite into Azalea. I think you are probably 50-50 into Bravo, maybe slightly favored with Azuri. Probably a little favored into Dash. Probably unfavored into the Ninjas. Favored into Dash.io. Super unfavored into Icelander. And then I'm not too terribly sure about these with the Zuri. Has anybody actually tested the Azuri tech with the Cadaverous Contraband? Looping, basically like they're playing Cadaverous Contraband into a dragon. They're playing like Popper Fatigue, basically, but what they're doing is they're cadaverousing the dragon, putting Codex on the top, then playing Codex to get Cadaverous, to put Cadaverous into the dragon, and they're just looping that. Good Dromai know how to beat the loop. I thought that was the case. Pretty cool loop, but I mean, you know. Just don't play dragons. Who would have known? Kyloria stack and laugh. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Arachne best deck. Definitely not. That is not the case. Damn, we still ain't at gameplay yet. We might not get there. We're having like good discussion. I think we're all learning. People are questioning numbers. I'm having to explain it, which means I'm finding flaws in it, and we're getting to a better end. A better end product, a better end goal. Down and Dirty is cool against Dromai. I agree. It's the best popper in the business. All right, can we talk about the Kano Copium now? I think Kano is trash right now because he doesn't know what to target. Like, right? Like I Kano's like Dromai. I mean, I don't know. There's too much in the air. I don't think there's a good enough like meta decision point. I mean, look, we've changed these numbers so many times because we don't have a very definitive answer on what we think the meta is going to be. So how could you bring a deck like Kano that literally requires absolute knowledge of what's happening at the event on a meta basis, right? I mean, Sasha's not bringing Kano, right? He probably has to talk himself out of it every 3 hours before he goes to sleep, even. So if Sasha's not thinking about bringing Kano, I don't know what other sign we really need. I think it'd be interesting to see if there's any Dark Horse heroes not listed. I mean, okay, so what we could do is we'll just remove Max since he's only making up 2%, right? And we can replace it with any hero. Let's go ahead and do Azuri real quick. And let's just run through the numbers real quick. So Azuri into Dromai, absolute dog, probably like a 3. I don't care. I don't want to hear it on that one. You guys are coping if you disagree with that. Favored into Azalea, not like as much as Lexi, but favored. Bravo, you're probably 50-50. You could be a little bit favored. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say 5.5 in a Bravo. Dash, you're probably 50-50, maybe slightly favored. I think you are a slight underdog into the ninjas. I think they can just get more value. And then Dash IO, you are definitely favored. That's straight from Thomas himself. Icelander, you're a huge underdog. Reinar, I have no clue. Maybe you can't really push damage though. Like, I'll say 4.5. This chat is why I did not put Azuri on the list, because I don't think it's a good deck. The daily self-Kano side count is real. I'm sorry. Oh. We'll do Kano next. Vera with no chill or new eye. Dash has pistol playing into Azuri. Yeah, but frailty is like a hell of a drug. Like, so like based off of these numbers, literally, why would you bring Azuri? I don't see it. I just don't see it, chat. So let's try the next one. Let's try Levia, right? Let's go down this one. Do Oldham next. Definitely not. Levia into Dromai. I'm going to say my piece on this. You guys can like disagree with it. I think it's maybe slightly Dromai favored is my opinion. This is the data for my argument. Basically, you play defensive, you play, rakes and stuff like that, get poppers out of their hands and so on. And once they build their blood debt up, you can literally like Lost in Thought their only way to get a card into the banish zone, and then just like let them deal 20 damage themselves. Like, that seems like a solid strategy into Levia. So I'm going to say it's probably like 50-50. Levia into Azalea is probably okay, actually, because you have the husk. You have a lot of armor. This is probably like a 50-50. Bravo. Imagine thinking Levia has good matchups, especially I like I said, I'm thinking slightly favored for Dromai. So like it'd be 4.5, right? And then Azalea about 50-50. We'll say slight underdog into Bravo. Dash, probably pretty decent. Probably bad into the ninjas because they're just more consistent. Their damage output probably bad into Dash IO. Breakpoints are a thing. Icelander, I think you're bad into that. Reinar, I don't have a clue. But once again, we're getting into very red numbers, right? I feel like Dorinthia could be decent looking at this. Bravo's like 50-50. Icelander. No, we can do Dorinthia, but I promise you it will be a very red number. Azalea on a sleep dart for Dromai. That matchup is fine for us. Sure. Prism Copium. She's gonna win world. No. Yep. I'll turn. There we go. I did hit the gain. My bad. It should be better now. Thank you, Daniel. Got the gain back. Yep. Dromai seems really rough for Dorinthia now that they have Tome. Yep. I agree. Okay. So, Levia, bad. Okay. Now we'll say Dory. Okay. Dory into Dromai, it's bad. Okay. It's not like atrocious, but it's bad. Azalea, you could probably do your like 14.5 D-react bullshit and get it to 50-50. Maybe. Bravo, probably a 50-50. dash. You're actually historically pretty good into dash. We'll say like 5.5, 6, maybe even. I'll give Dory a 6. Okay. Katsu, I think Katsu is favored in that situation. So we'll keep it at a 4. Same thing for Fi. I think you can just, well, this is where you gotta like, you have to pick or choose your battle, right? Like you can be good into the ninjas by being very aggressive and like playing Iron Soul and Determination and shit like that, right? Or you can be decent into Azalea by being like having 13.5 D reacts, right? You can't really be the best of both worlds. There's not that much room in the deck. Icelander, you're bad into. Rhinar, you're probably okay into. It's not the worst, not the best. So yeah, you're just not great into anything is the problem. You're not really good into anything. You got some 50-50s and you got some slight underdog matches. And it just so happens to be that the underdog matchup happens to be the most represented in the room. Hybrid Dory, I'm assuming you mean Dawnblade and Great Axe. And that's kind of what I was alluding at. That's like the only reason you'd be decent into Azalea. I mean, I guess if you ran Decimator, you're actually really good into Bravo. So let's give you 60% on the Bravo match, right? But if you go Decimator and, you know, the Katsu and Fi get a little bit worse, right? Dash IO probably gets a little bit better to a 50-50. This one gets worse. If you go Decimator and Dawnblade, like, you're just going to get dunked on. Jacob, I kind of agree with what you're saying. That was my knee-jerk reaction when we did the... I'm going to change that. I think I agree with that. Yeah, because it's just an aggro deck, right? And that's what Reinhardt doesn't want to see. That's what Reinhardt does not want to see. I agree with that. But Dory does not have good numbers. Out of all the decks here, it's the worst one. Right? So that's kind of like what we can do these heroes, but they're not going to be in a good place. They're just not. Right? Dory is favored into OG Dash. Back in the Crucible era, that was kind of the counter. Dash was undisputedly the best deck, and the two ways you countered it was by playing Rhinar or Dory. And Seb's also correct. Seb made a good point, and I mentioned that actually earlier, was the fact that you're playing against very good players, which you're not going to fall for, you know, reprise tricks and stuff like that. Let's do Kano. Let's make everybody happy. I'm just here to give the people what they want. That's all I want to do. Peter made a comment up in the chat. Let me go find that real quick. He said something about, here's the basis of Kano. Flip versus Dromai. I do agree with that statement. Because it's literally who can kill whoever in the first 2 or so turns. Favorite into Azalea. I'm going to disagree with that one, but I'll put it as a slight favor. Slight favorite. Favorite into Bravo. 100% agree with that. It's probably free. We'll put 70. Let's say flip into Dash IO. I'm going to disagree with that one. Probably like a 4. Bad into 5. Probably okay into 5. 50-50 there. 50-50 here. Not against Katsu. No, you're an underdog against Katsu. OG Dash is a bad matchup. Icelander's a bad matchup at the highest level. Reinhardt's a bad matchup. It's not terrible. Better than Dromai. Do Kano's number. Okay. So 5 is so easy to. Okay. I think if Azalea is reasonably high on inertia for Bravo, yeah. No, Bravo's free for Kano. Bravo, Kano, definitely 90% for Kano. I mean, you're right. It's probably like 85. We'll go 8.5 on it. Icelander's not a 5 at the highest level. Icelander should win that matchup. The lower in skill, the better it is for Kano. OG Dash is worse than a 4. Yep, that's correct as well. So this is probably a 3. Katsu's probably like a 3.5. Dash IO is it's just too fast. I did see that there will be that there is a Twitch category for Fab. I'm super excited to put some content out over there. I'm really stoked for it. Every deck sucks because it loses to triple aluminum. Never heard a truer statement. So I mean, once again, this is heavily weighted on the fact that Bravo is 20% of the room. If Bravo even drops to 15%, Kano loses all his equity. Literally. So, I don't know. If you're very confident that Bravos are coming out, then yes, bring Kano. But if not, stay your ass at home. You can ask Michael Hamilton, Ray Adams, Dan Rakowski about Icelander versus Kano matchup. It's hard Kano favored? I've heard the complete opposite. Where does Chain fit in this list? But yeah. So Kano, I mean, really your whole tournament's going to ride on how many Bravo matches you get because you're not really doing good into anything else. So if you want to if you want it to be up to that, then you know, that's okay. That is A-okay. So literally the hardest matchup in Fab. I mean, that's probably correct. I just know that they can counter they can counter stack the channel link frigids, present the disruption. Then if you don't do anything, you know, they resolve the channel to tax your move and then kill you then. Or open up the damage window and prevent you from being able to kill them. So that's the idea. But like I said, after the stream, I will. We are not doing this. Oh, we're not doing this right. Okay, so what we can do is do some gameplay real quick. We can get a game or two. I'll do a game or two of Bravo. Nothing crazy. No, they counter pitch stack the CLF with the wildfire. That's the art. You're not playing it offensively. That's not what I was saying. Okay. Let's do some games. Let me go over to the other screen real quick. Gotta change it. Let's go in game. Window capture. Change it to Talishar. Boom. We in it. Yeah, we're just chilling. Nothing crazy. We just chilling. Now we watch the chaos. But on a serious note, I appreciate everybody joining me. I really do appreciate it. I think it was a good discussion to talk about how amazing. I think it was really good to talk about how amazing Reinar is, because it just is in a good spot. Simple as that. I don't want to sit around all day. Do want a couple defensive options, but I want the opportunity to be offensive. Maybe not crazy offensive. We are going first though, so we need the pulverize in there for the tutor, just in case we are lucky enough to acquire that opportunity. So let's run it like that. How's Icelander doing Worlds? Is she going to be good? I don't think she is an amazing pick. Those aren't yellow beltings. We are playing around with that slot. It could be E-Strike. It could be yellow Zealous. It could be red out muscle. It could be blue out muscle. It could be so many, you know. The point is you just need 3 more go again cards. I've been playing with all of them. Just trying to get a feel for them and decide which one to do. Okay, so we have the all blue hand imposing, so that just automatically means we go get the pulverize. Because why not? And then also, the reason why we're not just playing the Showtime. Actually, we do just play the Showtime because we get to make another surge. Right? Yeah. That's the play. I saw the imposing. I was like, let's go grab it or whatever. But yeah, we just played this. We go get the pulver. Then we pass turn. We heave it. There we go. Yep, Showtime lets you surge. I caught it. I caught it. I caught it. Okay, Kadachi, we don't care. These are the percentage points you don't see in the chart. That's a fact. All right, normally I would entertain giving a piece of armor here, but because we actively have cards that we are willing to block with, because we only need 3 reds to dominate the pulverize, I do kind of like the idea of hanging on to the Terra Sunder, but we can do that either way. Either we get a red threat off of the Showtime, or we get another blue and we can bank the Terra. So I'm happy with no matter what we draw, which means we have a card that we can actively block with at no cost. And so we'll just wait for farther down the chain and get that block in. We are not going to Terra Sunder pulverize. That sounds like a waste. Okay, Bittering Thorns. Good thing here we can accidentally play around the Ancestral here, or Art of War, whatever their fancy is. Buckle's the least significant here out of these, so we will block with that. And then we'll probably just take whatever they have to offer. Please don't have Salt the Wound one time. Rip-a-roni, bro. I'm going to give you go again because you're going to attack me for 0. Okay. Not the worst. We get the arsenal that. It's not terrible. Okay, so we got 4 surges. That means I can make a surge, right? Yeah. Yeah. We can do that. That's maths. Quick maths. 4 red babies. All right, Dagan. I see you in here. You got to tell me how I'm doing. I think it's been pretty clean so far. Terra Sunder on a pulverize does have comedic value, but what it does not have is numerical value. Because if I Terra Sunder it, they just block 1 card, discard 2, and then Arsenal, and then I don't get the realization of the pulverized damage. What a hand, bro. What a hand. Kadachi for -3, bro. You got it. You got it. Okay, since we have the D-React and Arsenal, I'm going to go ahead and give the sync. Actually, we have 2 floating. What's going on here? Something's up. Oh, no, it's not. He's just trying to get the other chain link, so he's going to go Brand into Kadachi to get the extra Draconic link, so that'll be 2 Draconic. Then he probably has like a Mounting Anger, which we can save the sync for. The problem is I don't want to hold these cards if they're just blues, but like Macho for 8's not the worst, but like it's not actively what we're trying to do. Yeah, I do want to sync and try to find something relevant, but I also want to do it at the most opportune time because he's going to send the Kadachi and make it a Draconic chain link, and then I'm expecting like a Mounting Anger here or something along those lines, and that's where we'll give up the sync on the 3rd chain link or this, and we'll just accident. Another thing that we honestly could do is we could look for it twice. We could basically crown away the D-React. This is kind of a greed play, but if we hit something, we in it to win it. We could crown the Fate and then sync for the 2nd look, assuming they play this. is an idea. I mean, he has 1 to pay for the Kodachi, so he can go flame into whatever this is, assuming it's a 0 cost. I'm gonna take the greed play. I'm gonna crown away the fate. What a whiff. So now we really need to use the sink below, preferably. He should get flame here. He has 2 draconic links. No, he has 3. So even if this was a 1 cost, he could rip it. But I mean, mounting at the end of the chain's kind of whack. So it could be a lava burst. That's fun. Unfortunately, here we just have to give the most like whack card that we have, because he could not send the. We have not drawn a red attack. We went and searched the only one we had, which means these next couple hands could be rough. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna replace the surge and send the cranial. It's the only like relevant thing that we can do. It does put pressure on Art of War, which we'll take. It's not what we're actively trying to do. This is below rate as shit, but like, it's Bravo. What can we do? I thought it was a decent risk to crown away the fate because we had drawn, 8 blues in a row? They can't draw cards during their action phase. Yeah, it turns off maximum momentum as well. So, like, this is actually relevant. We got 2 cards. Look, we dealt 3 damage and got an E-strike. That's like 10 value. So it is on rate. Who knew? We will arsenal that, and we have something relevant with a surge. So what we're going to do is just lean on this D-React, try to get that off, and see what we can do. Yep, you got it. Speaking of below rate, my guy. Double strike. Snatch for 4. No. Snap it, bro. I dare you, bro. I dare you. Oh, man. All right, we're going to replace that surge, and we're going to yeet it. Yeeteth, deleteth. There we go. The card that Fi absolutely hates. We got the armor, boys. Phase 1 complete. And we're ahead on life. And we managed to use civic steps and not give him any extra value. So mission accomplished. Overall, we're in a decent spot. We haven't drawn shit, but like, this isn't good either. Okay. That's fine. Oh, he pitched to red. GG. Actually, I kind of like giving armor and kind of sitting on this for the next turn. So I'm going to ask to go back if that's cool with him. Because my thought process is he has indicated that the turn is on the weaker end because he pitched the red. So I really want to move the D-React to Arsenal. So I'm going to actively do this. Because he's just indicated that the turn's kind of weak. My hand doesn't really do anything, so... He is going to furnace into something, though. Okay, what do we got? CNC here or something? That'd be kind of cheeky. Furnace into CNC. Okay, so once again, he wasted the quicken on the Kodachi. So we take that. That is quote unquote value. Yep. And if he plays a snatch, we'll just give him a blue and then the last piece of armor, other than tech plating, and then we will go about our day. Okay, so we'll still give him this. Easy cover up. And then, unfortunately, we have to Anathos for 6 here to not lose value, because that's just the way that the hand like lines up. It just be like that. If this was coming in for 2, there's actually an argument to block and then send 4. It's the same value, but I get to get a surge, so I guess there's an argument still to just hammer for 6 no matter what happens in that scenario. So we will do that. And then Arsenal that D-React, which allows us to have that that defensive posture, if you will, in the event that we actually get a good card. Oh boy. Okay. We will let this hit. We will let this hit. Now he has to send an attack. We accidentally play around. He has 2 floating, which is kind of scary. I do want to use the one from Arsenal to 2-step the D-React, if I'm being honest, but at the same time, I do want the opportunity to filter here. I really need it. So I know this could be a CNC and I get blown out, but we still have a little bit of armor, and I really need to filter away this fate. But I do see the argument of playing the fate from Arsenal. Amen, brother. What could be better than 1? 2 of them. Please send another attack so I don't lose value. Please send something else. 1 time. Please attack me. Yes! He attacked me. Okay. We didn't lose value, chat. I've never been so happy to get breaking pointed. Never. This is anticlimactic, but you know, I guess if he has a sink blow, he can't use it offensively, which is kind of cool. But this is not. We have the only attack that we have drawn. Actually, is this Starstruck? Is the only red threat, and it's not even fucking red. Is the worst part about it. Oh, we got one, guys. We got one. Okay. Ancestral sucks here, but I can't afford to play around it. Just, okay, at least he can't breaking point here. In this situation, this is actually tough. I can give the armor and just say, look, we don't have to worry about the mash trigger. We have to count snatches here. There's 2 in the grave, so the only way we get punished is if this is snatch number 3. So I think that's a risk that we have to take. So I'm going to try, because I really want to dominate the spinal. So we're going to try to talk him into arsenaling that card. And he had the last copy. So we just have to let it hit, unfortunately. I don't think it's worth giving 2 cards. I understood the risk. You know, that was like the ultimate punishment. But the reason I made it was there was 2 snatches in the bin. I thought that it was very unlikely. This does look like a D-react, though. Hopefully he's not stream sniping. Hopefully. This very much looks like a D-react. Unfortunate. Well, that's not bad. And we still declined mask, so we take that. And we have a relevant threat no matter what in Arsenal, because it's very likely that he will Arsenal in this situation unless he drew a reinforced line, or we just get the whole suite. That's fine. He's only got 3 card hand, and we have a relevant threat. Yep. So, sure. We don't have to worry about masking anymore. We can just kind of block what we want. Don't have Salt the Wound, please. Okay. This is not too bad. What's the options here? We just block 3 and then go 10, right? Seems logical. Sigil, baby. All right, puts him to 1, puts him on a 1 card hand. He's going to Kadachi more than likely. And then we should be able to close it out with some kind of dominate. Yeah, we'll just block 1 card and go to 1. We have the surge for this. So yeah, we just went off of that. So GG. We had a good start with the Showtime. We had a really good start with the Showtime at the beginning of the game to heave the Pulverize. However, for the next 4 turns, the only relevant attack that we drew was Starstruck. And then after that, we drew like the double CNC. And then we had a good situation where we could like dominate a Spinal. But we didn't get any of the on hits. We didn't get the on hit on the Starstruck. He had the answer, or you know, we got the armor and then armor on the second one. So the only one where we actually got the on hit effect was just a pommel. That's really the only on hit that we got. So what the fuck? I don't know how to play this matchup. Somebody's trolling me. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Just go? Like, just go? Like that? Okay. Okay, that's pretty good. Merciful Retribution. Before wave pops. Sick. I think I just yeet it. No ALS. Don't do it. Stop it. Okay. I don't know if that's correct. Dropping the Genesis. Okay, we have to take care of that one next turn. Like, have to. So we'll use the Zealous on next turn and then clear the Genesis, because that one cannot stay. I remember that much. Okay. So let's send the better of the two. Chat, what if we send both? No, that seems greed. It's like, it's a whole, it's basically trading the Arsenal for 4 damage. I mean, because if not, it's an extra card. Maybe it actually is correct. Holy shit. It actually is correct. Genesis, you cannot stay. Okay, we have the popper and the way to turn this on, which is cool. Yep, you got it. Okay, we can Arsenal imposing. I don't love it, but like it's a line. It is a legal play in Flesh and Blood. So we might do that. Y'all are just jealous of Yellis Zealous. Yeah, we'll just Arsenal the imposing. And then we'll crown it away immediately. When we actively need the card. I don't love this. I don't love this happening. But out of the 4 cards I had in my hand, I guess this pushes the most damage and puts card in Arsenal. Ooh, we got him at 10 already? That's hot. Genesis. Genesis. You can do it. Okay. I believe in you. Arsenal. Well, this is a pretty good imposing hand, I guess. It's not really doing a lot else. No other cards in hand, so it's literally just 4. We don't have a go against source to take care of the Genesis, which kind of sucks. What's the line here? So we imposing, pitch 2 blues to get showtime. That leaves us with this. We can go get a like a crippling crush or something along those lines in Arsenal, and then just yeet the CNC. It does leave the Genesis there, but it does threaten that Arsenal a little bit, or we could have the same possible line available and just crown away this one though, and still have the ability to do it with this one. I like that play better. Just more possibilities by getting rid of the one in Arsenal. Okay, so this is the same thing. We tried. Oh, so this is actually really good. Okay. So does this change anything though? Is there a world where we can we heave a pulverize and try to just kill her? Is there a world where that happens? No, because yeah, we still have to swing is the problem. In which we need to get crippling. Then we make the surge and swing into hammer. Or swing into ALS, whatever it is. Control dash is a meme, dies all of 5, yep. I think that's the best line that we had available. And then we can just hopefully back these. He charged this, which has me a tad worried. We are just in kill mode. I think we can't manage this in any way. So like 7 damage is 7 damage. Cool. Please don't ALS. That's really bad. Fuck. Wait, did he get it back? Or did... Oh, no, it's in soul, right? It's in soul. Okay. Pinging yourself using boots. Oh, yeah. Whoops. I think we literally just hammer. Don't even make a surge. Because we have what we need. We could have imposing again and showtime again, but we've been drawing a lot of blues, and I don't want to like mess that ratio situation up. So, yeah, you got it. Four spectrals, homie. Holy shit. Okay, so this does get Tunic if you'll stop discard unless he has a D-React. Should have played Null Rune. Yeah, I've never played this matchup before digging. Hmm. Okay, so that's what you were talking about. If he uses the Quicken token, Merciful triggers on the Arcane. Does not trigger on Haze Bending because it has to be Illusionist Aura. So he has to give card Tunic unless he has D-React. That'll be 3, 4, 7. 1 is 8. So that means he has a D-React. Okay, we do get all the shields, but we do take a shit ton of Arcane in the process, which is not cool. But we just need to kill. We could dominate, or we could send 7 and then 6. I wonder if just the damage is better. What's action? I mean, there is a world where he could just die from the damage if he draws enough no blocks. Kind of, I think we're out of reach for that. But what I'm gonna talk about, I can't even rouse. It's not even a discussion. Okay, so we're just dominating crippling. Cool, got it. Yep, he caught me in chat. Yeah, rouse is not online. That is a fact. That is a fact. We're just gonna keep our life total up just to arcane. Do the arcane. No, we can't send rouse. I would love to. Or, like, it's a debate, but like I don't think it's correct. We do keep the rouse. We just dominate this, hope we can get the discard. That should prevent swinging auras. And so this is the ward 4. It's going to get the angel. Yep. So we got ward 4 and then what? 2 spectrals. So that's 6 block, card from hand. He'll still, yeah, we lost. Yeah. I see the writing on the wall. To all the Guardian players that played Guardian while OG Prism was around, respect. I would never do this shit. Hell no. If this hero ever becomes 5% of the meta, I'm off Bravo. That's facts. Oh, God. Yep, you got it, boss. Earned it. Those were the good old days. Were they? I mean, yeah, because I was playing Briar and I was ecstatic about it. But like, I'm a very like calm, chill dude. I don't ever get like mad about anything. But like, if I played Guardian and I sat across from a Prism, I'm not entirely sure that I could like not be pissed. Here we have to go. If he gets to mech, we're kind of messed up. Maybe Yellow's a little ambitious. We have to use civic steps before he Okay, we gotta go. We do have Buckle in the list, if I'm not mistaken. So it kind of does put him in a situation where he can't block with armor, unless he wants to be like super risque. So we're gonna take the pistol shot here. If he decides to shoot it, that's cool too. So we'll just replace and send the Starstruck. This is like, normally I don't like to dominate this early. I think this is a bad play. What I'm trying to do is get a skill check. Does he give me the armor? If he gives me the armor, I immediately slow the game down, get to Buckle, blow that shit up. Okay. This is one of those situations where I do not believe it to be the optimal line of play, but I do think that a slight inefficiency can kind of calibrate the game and like really just give you an easy win con to kind of like say, hey, who am I dealing with here? Okay. Time to slow the game down. Well, I say that, but I wouldn't mind arseling this pummel. Let me stick to my guns. And just kind of delay the game. I'm 90% sure I'm playing yeah, I got 2 buckles. Okay. That's the win con. That's the win con we're going to play. So we're going to keep our life total as high as possible and play to said win con. Buckling blow doesn't need to crush, right? Buckling blow puts the counter on there. All I need buckle to do is hit. No, buckle just needs to hit. There's already -1 counters. That's it. I can buckle hammer for 7. What's he gonna do? Right? Or am I missing something? All I have to do here is get buckle to hit. It can be buckle on a hammer. It can be buckle on anything. So I don't understand. It's asking a lot. It's really not. It's a 3-card hand. I understand what you're saying, Vero. All I'm trying to do is buckle hammer. That's it. I don't want to buckling blow. That's not what I'm trying to do. Buckle raids dominate when this hits a hero. Destroy an equipment they control with a -1 counter on it. There's 3 of them bitches. No, I don't want to buckling blow the mech. No. I want to buckle him before he gets to the mech. That's the goal. The buckle's not hitting while he has the mech out. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, we're not buckling blow the mech. Look, we won the game. If that's not a D-reacting arsenal, we win the game. Because I can just fatigue from here. We blow shit up. And now the mechanoid says you need 5 mechanologist equipment plus the hyperdrivers. So or it says all. So now we just fatigue. We just block as much damage as possible. And it's a guarantee win. Sorry that this isn't going to be like the most exhilarating gameplay, but like I have a defined win con, so I'm gonna kind of like leverage it. Sure. Undo blocks. Let's go and give Civic because he probably wants to pistol here, or I want to disincentivize him to do so because I want to play the sigil and gain the life. So, yep, that worked. So now we didn't have to take the 2 damage to play the sigil. This is the Bravo gameplay we came to watch. Good old block and a hammer. Oh, man. Just wondering why I didn't choose to destroy the Teklo Foundry heart. Because I misplayed, if I'm being 100% honest. Thought process, I don't know why. I was like, oh, but this makes it where the mech doesn't have minus. I should have blown up the heart. But also, actually, it was not a misplay. Because since I'm fatiguing him, I want to give the opponent the opportunity to misplay. Right? So with that being said, if he wants to Teklo and burn 2 cards off the top of his deck while he's actively being fatigued, then, like, let him. I don't know what's in that arsenal right now. It could be a mech. I don't know if this CNC is actually going to, like, help him or not. Because if it's a mech, bro, fatiguing just got way easier. I don't know if I want to play the CNC. So what we're going to do is we are going to assume it is. And we're going to arsenal the pummel. I guess it's a misplay in a sense because my strategy is kind of increased if he's a bad player, which I shouldn't need an edge against. I thought it was a mech. Oh no. We could have ruined his day, bro. Oh no. We messed up, chat. We had the counter. We had the counter. That was my fault. That was me. Yep, we have to give him a piece of armor, and we will do so. Actually, let's make it a clean block. Let's just go here and here and here. That was my fault. The worst possible one. That was pretty bad. That was pretty bad. I mean, this still isn't that bad, right? It's just like a couple pistol shots. It's not. I'm gonna make sure I see that hand go down before I start blocking. Okay. I will take 2 to send 4. Because we do want to shrink the hand size at some point. We're really waiting for him to slip up so we can play this. I should have CNC'd pummel. That would have like won the game on the spot. If you make a read that they're lower skill level, do you change your strategies? Absolutely, all the time. All the time, actually. I think preserving life is the better option here than actually sending that. Does give us the opportunity to send 6 here. Remember when you didn't want to play Buckle because of Rouse? All right, good point, bro. Good point. Pitch double red. I think now I'm just going to kill him. Yeah, I'll speed it up for chat. This one's for you, chat. The old fatigue pivot. Sure, bro. You got me. Now I'm going to delete your hand. And you're going to go to 1. I'm going to kill you with this. And you're going to have a 1 card hand. I sped it up for you, chat. I got you in mind. Okay. Well, this is just funny. Rip. We got there. We got the natty 4-card pulverize. So that's a good example of like just knowing a win con, executing it. Now, one thing that I will say is that Starstruck at the very beginning while he had the armor up, I'm not entirely sure if if I would do that at a very high level, because there might not be an active reason to actually. There might not be a very good active reason to do a skill check there, right? There's an argument to be made. Who's going first? He's going first, so we don't want the pulverize. We do like Pummel, though. Pummel's kind of cool. This matchup historically is pretty rough, to be honest. At least it's Raiden. Thanks, Justin, for stopping by. Okay, we got the bolt. Thank God it's a very, very convenient block here. Since we do have offense here, I am going to just sink this. There's no real reason not to. I mean, technically, we should block a card in case he courageouses, right? That would be, yeah. See, I saw it before it happened. So yeah, that's just me being greedy. But there's usually not too many ways he can actively take advantage of that, because he doesn't want to burn the soul to give it go again, because that's the whole point of doing it. So we are just go. Are we sending damage or are we yeeting? There's plenty of armor up, so I'm going to elect damage, because we also get to keep the threat into Arsenal. Sure. We got 10 damage in on the first turn, and got an Arsenal, and got a card out of the hand. We take those exchanges. Okay. Here we have no go again. So what I do feel like doing is we have a very good hand if we rip a blue. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to sink the enforced snaps here if he wants to continue. Or does that one have go again if it hits? Fuck me. Yeah. See, reading cards. All right, that cost me 4 damage, chat. It cost me cost me a lot more than that. I should have just jammed armor there. What am I doing? That was a huge misplay by me. And this gives soul. We don't want that. We want him to work for his soul. What else could you have? Jesus Christ. Leave me alone. The reason that we're not dominating this is we want the ability to execute this. There's no, like, you know, like here, we're perfectly fine getting both cards. Especially with one of them being Illumina. And then we have damage, tempo, the works. Here we are just going to... I think we're just going to go grab a blue. And that'll give us more opportunity to block. Yeah, giving quicken tokens is not ideal, I will admit. But giving quicken tokens is not as bad as letting them draw a card. So here we get to do our blocking thing. Parabolana. Sure. Cello, put in your hand and charge. So we got to charge that and make the card. That's pretty hot. So it's a 7. And he has charge. So he does get the on hit. We do want to deny that. We really want to deny that. So we will. Sure. Yeah, probably do that and then Raiden, if I had to guess. Rip. Oh, wait, we knew that because we faded. We should have, because of Showtime. That's another misplay. Or should have, we planned to block with the full hand here. Yeah, I should have blocked with the extra card. That was my fault. That was my fault. I mean, it was only the difference of 1 damage off the Raiden. I'm not going to arsenal that. This game wouldn't even be close if I would have blocked the first one with the armor. Force him to use some soul. Mm-hmm. Yeah, send 4. Probably not get a card here unless he has a V. We are going to keep an eye on that tunic counter. When that tunic counter hits 3, we really need to find something to push pressure to really deny. Either have Beacon Courageous or pass turn, bro. Send 6. We need to start pressuring the hand ASAP. There are 2 Luminas gone. I think we discarded one on the crippling. Yep, 2 Luminas. No Vs, though. Has D reacts. Okay. This is a good hand to make a pivot. Okay. Have something or get soul. Okay. Pretty good play. Hopefully he doesn't have a D react. Try to take some tempo here. Please don't have a D react in Arsenal. One time. So I can just close this game out. That, if I would have read Light the Way, that first Light the Way, bro, if I would have just blocked it with 2 pieces of armor, it literally would have saved me like 9 life. His turn would have been over. And he has the biggest D react of them all. Q. Okay. Keep that on top because it's a blue for crippling. And then we'll go and leverage the tear asunder. Hopefully he doesn't have another D react. Okay, so we got 2 cards and some damage. Bolting on a small hand is atrocious. So he doesn't have a D react, but he had Lumina to flash in for 4. We have to eat these. Pretty good for a 3-card hand. I'll discard 2, leave him down to a 1-card hand. He can't even get me with the rating for 0. Arsenal, and we should get it. Okay. That was way closer than it needed to be. But we got there. That not blocking with the armor on that first one that light the way literally cost me like 10 life and more armor. Like it was. Oh, that was so bad. Gotta read cards. Gotta read cards. Okay. So that was pretty fun. We got to talk about the meta matchups. Had an amazing time doing that. And we got a couple games in. We got the Phi match, which, you know, we kind of low rolled in the beginning, but we ended up getting there. And then we got destroyed by Prism, right? And then we got the Max and we got the Bolton. So overall, 3-1. I didn't update the tracker, but, you know, it is what it is. Currently, Bravo's on my short list to play for Worlds. It's mainly between Bravo, Azalea, and Bravo, Azalea, and one of the ninjas is kind of like where I'm at right now. I don't feel comfortable bringing Dromai. I think a lot of people are going to be planned for that, and I'm not sure that I want to embark on that risk, if you will. So I'm not saying Dromai is a bad pick. I'm just saying that I'm not the type, like it's giving me chain vibes where like you sit across from the opponent and you don't really know what they're intending to do. And you kind of like have to hedge. You have to hedge accordingly. And if you're wrong, you are at an extreme disadvantage. And if you guess right, you get to play a fair game. So Gavin, GG, I appreciate the game. But it was a lot of fun. And that's where I'm currently at for Worlds. Unfortunately, this is my last stream before Worlds. Or until after Worlds, right? Because I will be flying into Spain on Tuesday. So unless I do an unexpected one later this week or anything like that, we won't be streaming next week. It'll be the Wednesday after Worlds. I should be back back at it at that time. So thanks everybody for joining me. I really do appreciate it. We'll also after Worlds we'll get something going on Twitch. Try to support that, get the game growing over there. See what happens. Really do appreciate everybody. And if you see me at Worlds, say hey, please. Looking forward to seeing everybody. Everybody have a good night. Take care.